Hi, welcome to Scott's. If you're watching this video, that means we've gone through the interview process and we've asked you to come out and try us out for a few days. Maybe you already have, or maybe you're going to. So I just thought we'd mandate that everyone watch this video so they have an introduction as to who we are, how we do things, and what you can look forward to in the next few months or years. Scott's has been around for about 40 years. The first 20 we worked for builders and we construction cleaned houses before people moved in, and about 20 years ago we transitioned to residential window cleaning only. So that's all we do is residential window cleaning, houses and some small buildings, but no commercial. We have about 3,000 or 4,000 clients that we stay in touch with every spring. We send out emails or order forms and they get back to us with their orders. And of course, through Google and whatnot, we get new clients or word of mouth. We're unique in that way that you as employees never have to sell. You never have to go door to door to create work. There's usually more than enough work for us to do, and it just comes to us at this point after 20 years. So that's a bit of a blessing. An overview of the company and the schedule. As you already know, probably we work from April till late November, till it snows. Predominantly a Monday to Friday company. We work 3 Saturdays early in the season, so I'll let you know what those 3 Saturdays will be. Usually it's Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. In the summer, if we get slower, because July and August tend to slow down a bit, we sometimes take Fridays off later in the summer. It's not a guarantee, but over the last few years, we've predominantly taken Fridays off, at least in August. We also take the first week of August off as a complete company shutdown right around the August long weekend, and everybody takes that week off midsummer. The pay is weekly, so you will be paid the following week from obviously a week's worth of work. You'll be paid the following week, usually by Thursday night, or always by Thursday night, so that the money's in your account for Friday. Sometimes, depending on schedule, we'll do it a little earlier. You get paid, of course, for any of the stat holidays, and during our season, they are the May 24th, July 1st, Labor Day, and Thanksgiving are, I believe, the 4 stats. Your pay, of course, will be hourly. We keep track of it. When you show up at the shop, you get paid from when you show up at the shop, your scheduled time, which we'll get into in a little bit, 15 minutes after that. The reason being, without going into too much detail, is once the crew leaves the shop, they tend to just go to Timmy's right away and grab a coffee for their road out. So instead of starting work and then going for a break immediately, you come in at, let's say, 8:15, and you get paid from 8:30 when you leave the shop on, and you get paid for the entire day, no matter what transportation or where you're going, until you get back to the shop and you've cleaned out your vehicle and you punch out at that point. On top of your pay, there's a bonus system, and without going into too much detail, because we're going to keep this video as short as we can, it's basically a system where over the course of a week, depending on what crew you're in for the week, you have daily numbers to try to hit. Anything you do above that, there's a percentage involved. Basically, that number is very attainable, probably 90-95% of the time. The crew hits that number, and then as a crew, you get into the bonus system, and we calculate your bonuses based on how much you do over that line. It's very attainable. Over the course of a summer, some of our people are making $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 over the course of a summer in bonuses. So we want to make that a very viable and attainable goal. Sick days, days off. If you need a day off for whatever reason, please let us know as soon as possible via text or in person. We have a list at the shop and a calendar showing who needs what days off. Sick days, that might be a last minute thing, so all we ask is that you let us know as soon as possible, the night before or the morning of, and text us right away and say you're not well, you're not coming in. Dress code, we provide shirts and hats. If you wear hats, you don't have to wear a hat, I don't, but if you do wear a hat, we provide them. We ask that you wear black shorts or pants, and black socks. So you'll be given a week or so to get your stuff in gear in order to make that happen. But as a dress code, that's what we expect. And we suggest running shoes. if you wanted to wear boots, I guess, but you'll find slip-on, slip-off, easy access, grips on roofs, etc. Ladders, running shoes are the best way to go. Your schedule will be given to you via text or email if you don't have a phone like that the week before, so you'll know what your schedule is going to be. There will also be a group chat with the employees and with our managers that you'll be able to keep in contact with. So when we send you your schedule, that basically means is that depending on where you're going in the city and what crew you're with, the times can vary to be at the shop between 8 o'clock or 8:30 or 8:15. Your schedule that you're given that I text out to you will show where you're going each day and what crew you're with, so you'll know what start times to arrive at the shop at. You're going to be trained personally by myself or one of our managers, and just so you know, you'll be brought along slowly. You'll never be asked to do anything that you're not comfortable with. You're going to learn how to clean windows first before we even think of putting you on a ladder, and with that comes training. So don't be alarmed thinking day 2 we're going to throw you on a ladder and send you up. We are a fully insured company through Workman's Comp. And as well, we have liability insurance in case, God forbid, any accident should happen on a site. As well with your pay, after your first few days or a week, when we know it's a fit, both you and I, we will need information from you, bank account information, personal information like your SIN number, your address and whatnot. We pay, as I mentioned, weekly. And usually it's direct deposit. We can do an e-transfer or we can do a check if we have to, but generally we do direct deposit on Thursday nights and it's in your bank account by Friday. So what we're going to do now is head over to the shop. We're going to show you and outline what you do in the mornings when you get there, vehicles, trailers, and equipment, etc., before you head out with the crew. And after that, we'll do a little quick visit of a house to basically do a quick overview of what services we provide and a little bit how we do it. But again, the training takes quite a while, so it obviously won't be done in this video. Well, this is it. This is the home of Scott's Window Cleaning for the last 15 years. Welcome. So each morning when you arrive, if you've got, the first thing you should do is if you have donuts for me, you give me the donuts, and then you come in here to the board and check out the daily schedule. So the first thing you'll want to do when you arrive to the shop in the morning is check the board. The schedule that I texted you or emailed you will be here, but sometimes the board is different. Obviously, someone might have phoned in sick, we need to make trades, and you thought you were going to go to a certain place with a certain crew, but there's been a last second change. So the board is every morning up to date as to what's happening that day. Brief description of this is we have our different colored areas that your show up time. Obviously, if you're going all the way to Mississauga, it's a 7:45 be at the shop time. But if you go to different areas and you're right here in Brooklyn, it can be an 8:30 show up time. So every 15 minutes, depending on what color area, how far it is you're going, you show up at that time, and that will be on your daily schedule or the schedule we send out to you. So obviously there's different crews. We run anywhere from 3 to 5 crews as the season gets going. So there'll be the name of the manager, who it is. There'll be what we call a number 2, an experienced person that's coming back for a 2nd or 3rd or 4th year. And then the new people will be inserted in these spots. They'll be in red, and that's your crew for the day. This is the license plates of the different vehicles. We have 6 or 7 different vehicles. We have 9 trailers, and these trailers are here. So this day, I would be going with Julia and a new person to Uxbridge, and we're taking that vehicle and that trailer. You can help hooking that up and whatnot, but after you look at the board and check your binder, then you'll go to that trailer vehicle and help get that organized. The yellow means that that crew has pressure washing for the day. We'll get into that later as to what that means, but we need special equipment for that, so that has to be considered in all this. This is basically set up every day by myself or one of the 2 general managers. The second step might be to look at your binder and glance at your actual houses, and there's client notes in there. Does this client require a special piece of equipment or something like that? It gives you an outline of how many fulls you have in the day or outsides, what to expect. It basically outlines what your crew work has for the day and what extra work you can do. So it's always good to have a quick peek at that as well. So this area over here is where we have predominantly most of our equipment, and on a daily basis you'll see what the trailer needs, and you'll come over here and grab drop sheets or soap or spray bottles or blades or squeegees. And this is where you'll change your razor blade every morning with supervision, of course, because if you're going to get hurt on this job, that's where you're going to hurt it, is changing blades. So there's special technique to that, and we'll show you that in person. In this area next door, we have our bungees, which we use exterior to clean the windows, to wet the windows actually. We have our screwdrivers, any extra screwdrivers. Every belt should have one. We have ladder mitts, which go on the ends of all the ladders so they don't damage anything. And we have the track brushes, which we use to clean the tracks when we're doing inside and out. The important piece of every morning is the belt section. Everyone has their own very specific belt. You get to know your belt, you get to know what works and what doesn't work, so it's important that every day you get the same belt in return. As an example, Connor, one of our GMs, this is his belt, JD15 Connor, and on his belt right here is his name, Connor, written. So his belt would go back in there with a squeegee and a scraper every day. So when you get the belts, you make sure that it has a squeegee in it and a scraper in it. Other than that, the rags and whatnot are irrelevant. You just make sure you get your belt and help everyone else get their belts, the proper belts in the proper trailer. At the end of the day, you return at least your belt to here because you're probably going to be in a different crew the next day. The manager and number two might be together for the entire week, so they might not take their belts out of their trailers. They get the same vehicle, same trailers every day. But the new people tend to put it here, and the next morning they're with a different crew and come and get your belt. So this is how you identify it. So you'll get your own belt with your own identifying mark on it, and that goes in the same spot every day. And if you're driving to work each day across the street at the Luther Vipon Arena, there's lots of parking. They use it for Go parking and for the arena, so it's a non-issue, lots of spaces to park right across the street. So here we are at a typical home that we do. It's going to take months and months for you to learn all the nuances of the whole thing, and training takes a long time, but this video is to cover the basics of what we do. Sometimes we come to a house and we just do the exterior, and sometimes we come and do the full interior and out. So I'm going to show you both. When the manager or number two goes to the door to introduce themselves and get things set up, you can get out of the vehicle and start helping getting things organized. Depending on if we're going inside or not, you can come and start untying ladders from the trailers. We have different trailers, and sometimes the ladders are on top, but sometimes they're on the side, and you'll learn how to untie them and tie them safely. Once we have our belt on, before we head up, we just make sure that we've got everything we need. We got our drop sheet, we've got our spray bottle, our squeegee, our scraper, a screwdriver, and a track brush. Once you have all those things, you're ready to go up. We never walk up empty-handed. We save steps. We take as much as we can up, whether it be a step ladder, a bucket, the screen brush, the vacuum. We take as much as we can up. It saves steps and time, which means more bonus for you. We can walk up. We generally do the screens outside in the garage area if we can, so I can put that down there now and head up to the front door. Once we've got the green light to go in the house, we get prepared to go inside. We always, as newbies, take our squeegees and leave them out by the front door, because when we're in there doing tracks or screens, we don't want our squeegee hitting any walls or kitchen cupboards. So we always leave it there until we're ready to window clean. Then we take off our shoes, always, number one rule, before we head on in. So for the purposes of this training video, we're just going to show you an approximation of what we do. Obviously, houses are different, situations are different, but for the most part, this is an overview very quickly of what it is we do. When we're looking at tracks, we go into a house, we start upstairs, we go to a window, we make sure there's nothing around that we can damage, we pop out the screen, and we open the window to see what we're in for. In a house where it's a regular client, there's probably not a lot to do. So in my spray bottle, I just have water. I pump it up and I wet the frame. I'm wetting the frame around so I can give it a quick wipe, and the bottom part as well. And that's sort of the area that we're looking at. If I need my scrub brush, I can use it to scrub the bottom, or maybe here a little bit. Again, we'll train you how to do it with or without the vacuum. This groove here If it's a new client and it's full of dirt, we might bring the vacuum in to suck that up. It's a wet, dry vac. So again, we're really worried about the frame on the outside there. And you'll notice through this window, we get that outside edge out there. That's an area that a lot of people miss, actually. And we get in here where my fingers are touching in there. A house like this, that's a regular client, it's not going to be that bad. It's not going to take that long. And with our spray bottle, what we can do is just rinse the bottom. We don't actually have to use the rag very much, if at all. And we're just letting the water and the dirt go outside, and we rinse it nice and clean. Sometimes in a house, one person goes around and does all the tracks and pops out screens as they go. We collect the upstairs screens together and bring them down outside when we come down, and we collect the downstairs screens all together and keep them separate so we'll know where they went back in. Sometimes each person will do their own track, depending on, like this one here, it really didn't need someone to come and do the track. I can now do the windows on it, so each window cleaner will do their own as they go along. Just depends on what each house needs and each track needs. So now I'm just going to give you a very brief overview of how we clean windows. The first thing always inside a house is we use this drop sheet, and that protects any flooring or whatever, because we tend to drip a little bit. And we're always cognizant of what's around us. Are we going to damage anything? And we don't want to hurt the walls, of course, as well. Inside a home, through the magic of film, I've now filled up my spray bottle, not filled it up, but made it yellow with sunlight soap. So I've added a few tablespoons. We'll teach you how much soap to add. What we do is inside a house, we use this to wet the windows. Outside, we'll use a bungee, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. And basically what we do is we make sure that the frames are clean first. Don't worry about the bottom too much, because the water is going to come down and we're going to wipe it again anyway. It's basically up and around and over. Once that's done, we can use our rags to wet the window, like so. And I know this client is a regular client, so there shouldn't be any need to scrape. But if we did, or if there's a spot on it or whatever, you use your scraper to spot scrape if you have to. Sometimes you have to do the whole window if it's covered in all kinds of stuff, but usually it's just a spot scrape. And then we wet the window again. Always having our wet rag in our hand. And the reason for that is to catch any water that's dripping. We have to be very careful in the house. Like that. That is what we call the fast method. I'll show you the more typical method is sort of a back and forth. We call it the sideways C shape. And what you're looking at here is about 500 years of experience. So I make it look easy. It will probably take you a month or so to finally get the hang of that and really know what you're doing, so that will put you on more difficult windows or whatever. At this point, I'm pulling out the dry rag now, which hangs by your belt, just to touch up the edges, putting your finger behind it like so, holding it back so it doesn't get all over the window. And you do your edges. We do very good work. We get very, very few complaints. That's why we have 3,000 or 4,000 regular clients. We wipe up the sill. Don't forget to clean up your area where you're working and make sure it's all good. There's no spots on the floor, and you can pick up your drop sheet and take it with you. For the purposes of this video, we're just going to do a real brief explanation of how we do screens. Basically, we bring them out of the house. We'll have them in 2 stacks, the upstairs and the downstairs. Keep them separated at all times. We find a garden hose. Usually the one in the garage is the best, and we do it on a garage so that the water goes away from the house and you're not in a pile of mud. So you get the screen brush and you attach it to the garden hose. It makes a little bit of noise. This spins, but you don't clean it in a spinning motion. You do it in a straight motion. You take a screen. The water's coming out of this. So what you want to do is do edges and then about lengths like that. Not really long. that hurts your back and you might miss some stuff, but maybe in halves and about this tempo too. And you don't, not like that, this brush is already spinning, just straight lines, like a farmer doing his field. When it's wet, you've done both sides, same thing. You merely put it to the side, grab the next one. An important piece of doing screens is you don't put this down and walk this away one at a time and walk back to get the next one. It's helpful to put it in the sun to let it dry, and I'll come to that later. So I would do the second one, put it there. Grab the next one. My feet aren't moving. I'm not wasting time walking and walking back, not putting this down, picking it back up. And if you drop this, it's plastic, it might break. So when you're done maybe the upstairs, you grab all those, move them somewhere, spread them out a little bit, then you do the downstairs ones. So the name of the company is Scott's Window Cleaning and Pressure Washing. Pressure washing is something we do on houses only. We get requested pressure wash all kinds of things. We don't. We only do houses. 3 jobs that we do: siding, soffits, and eaves troughs. So I'm just going to explain very quickly what we do. So eaves troughs are the inside of this right here, not the outside, the inside where leaves and debris would go in. We can scoop them out by hand. We can use a big pressure washer to blow it out, or sometimes we use a jetpack air blower to blow it out. It depends what's in it. Depends on all kinds of situations as to what method you do. Generally, it's the pressure washing or the blowing that we do. The soffits are cleaning what you see underneath here, the underside of the eaves and the soffits. What we do is we use buckets and a chemical and soap, and we use brushes and scrub them with poles, and then we rinse it with garden hoses or the pressure washer. And siding is what you see on the, obviously the yellow on the side up there. Again, we use the pressure washer to wet it. We use poles and brushes to scrub it gently as you would washing a car, and we rinse it off. So those are the 3 pressure washing jobs that we do. So when it comes time to do the exterior windows, we probably need some ladders. So we obviously unfasten them from the trailer. Different trailers, different techniques of doing it. But when we're taking it off and tying it down, basically what we're trying to do is attach it to the bars. So we roll it around and lock it down like that so it can't move, and just keep going around and doing it in different places along here. We'll train you differently how to do it on different trailers. We have 3 different lengths of ladders. We call this the baby ladder. Then we have a 2-story and a 3-story. This is the smallest one, the baby ladder. You lift it up, and it's not that heavy. Spin it like so. Carrying a ladder is very simple, but people struggle with it at the beginning. It's not that it's that heavy. And this slides up and down. So what you do is you reach through, and with your strong arm, left or right-handed, that's the one you're going to lift it with. Your other hand is just for support. So what you do is you lift it a little bit, and you lean the ladder on your body. Let it hit your shoulder, and you use your thumb here like that, and you lean it back like that. That's how you carry a ladder. So with ladders, there's a lot of training that goes into that. We're very, very careful. We've never had an injury in the company. And there's lots of rules and different ways to do it. One of the rules is that you can set it up, and notice though, we're missing a rubber end up there, but the rubber end would go on the gutter sometimes to not dent anything, or it would go past it. And that makes it easier when you're getting off the roof to hang on to something. You don't want your angle to be out here like this, because as you get up there, there's more weight on the top of the ladder, which is going to dent the eaves troughs. If there's ever a fear you're going to do that, we have ladder arms in every trailer, and ladder arms are attached to the top of it, and it gets the ladder off the eaves and onto the roof. We also don't like a ladder on a sloped driveway, and it's slippery. We would always get a hold here. So on cement, you want it flat. If you happen to be on a slope like this, or at any time you feel nervous, Oh, we can always bring someone in for a hold. When we're inside a house on tile or wherever, we're generally always get a hold. And you don't hold with your feet up here like that, because if the ladder slides, you're both going for a ride. You want your running shoes on in a house. It's the only time you're allowed to wear shoes is in a house when you're holding a ladder, and you want to be like that. But we would never really ever set it up here at the front of a house on the driveway. Much safer to go to the side of the house. And if by chance you were to dent anything, you're not going to see it as much on the side of the house as you are on the front. The safest way to put a ladder up is to find grass and notice the legs spin, to dig them in like that, step it down, that ladder's not going anywhere. That's as safe as you can get. So thanks for watching our orientation video. There's still lots to learn, but at least this gives you an outline of what a normal day looks like and how to do it. Thanks, and look forward to working with you soon.